Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, then I'm Bex and I make videos with a cosy feel to do with family food and home. I also love quirky baby names. I've racked quite a few baby name videos up now and I have a playlist of them, which I'll leave linked below. I've done autumn baby names, Christmas baby names, floral baby names, nature baby names, strong but gentle boys names, hippie baby names, you name it. If it's quirky, I've probably got a few ideas up my sleeve for you. So if you do like baby names, or if you are on the lookout for a quirky, unusual name, then hit subscribe and work your way through the video list. So today's video has come as a request for romantic boys' names that are still quite wearable. So grab yourself something cozy to drink, snuggle up, and let's get started with the baby names. So I'm kicking off today's list with a really unusual romantic boy's name. It is Aramis. I think Aramis is one to watch. It has gone from completely unranked in 2016 to number 2,324 on the list, meaning 9 babies were named this last year. I think it's quite similar to Atticus. It's also quite similar to the next name on my list, which, you know, I'll talk about in a minute, but I think it has this beautiful romantic sound to it, but it's still strong at the same time. It's of French origin and it means swordsman, and I can just imagine sort of a swashbuckling sort of romantic hero or from adventure novels of, say, the 19th century. It has a real literary sound to it, and I just think it has the perfect balance of romantic and strong, so definitely one to watch, I think. The next name is quite similar sounding to Aramis, and that name is Amyas. I have loved this name for many years. In one of Agatha Christie's novels, she creates the character Amyas Crail, who is this mercurial, temperamental, romantic artist. And I think the name Amyas definitely sort of sums that up. It's of French Latin origin and it means beloved. So I don't see how you can get more romantic than a romantic sounding name with sort of artistic associations and the name meaning of beloved. If you do love this, it's completely unranked and very unusual, but still strong sounding and not overly flowery. So if you're trying to get a romantic name past your other half and you're sort of struggling, I still think Aramis and Amyas would be real sort of bold, romantic but strong choices. The next name on my list I have just mentioned. It's a far more sort of heard of name, but I don't think it makes it any less romantic or any less wearable. The name is Atticus. It's stormed quite far up the list over the last couple of years and it is now sitting at 451, meaning 93 babies were named this last year, and I still predict it's going to move very quickly into the top 100. If you do love this name, I would get in fast if you still want to use it before it becomes far more sort of heard of in the playground. Moving on to a couple of sea names for you next. I have Cassian and I have Caspian. I love both of them. I think Cassian sounds quite gladiatorial, a bit along the same sort of vein as Maximus Decimus, but I still think it sounds very romantic. I think it's the double S in the middle of the name and just the lovely sort of round vowel sounds that it has. I do think it's one of these names that you are going to have to watch quite closely if you are looking for something very unusual, just because it's moved into the sort of top 1000. It's gone from 2020 in 2016 to number 833, so it is making significant movements up the list, but I still think it is unusual enough for it to not be a very sort of common playground name. Caspian has the lovely associations with C.S. Lewis's The Chronicles of Narnia. You had Prince Caspian and The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, if you loved the C.S. Lewis novels, and you also have the Caspian Sea. It's very romantic in a sort of 19th century seafaring sort of way. A very adventurous, romantic sounding name. The next name on my list is a nil name for you, and that is Leander. I think it's quite similar to Lysander. I do think it's unusual still, but it is starting to creep into the charts. It's gone from completely unranked to number 2,512 on the list. So not completely unheard of to people, and I think that's what's quite nice about this name. Although it's unusual, it's romantic sounding, but it's not as difficult to pronounce or spell as a name maybe like Lysander. How could we have a romantic boys' names list without this name, Valentino? Beautiful romantic name, but I think more masculine and stronger sounding than, say, Valentine. If you're of Italian heritage, or if you have someone in the family who has those sorts of connections, then Valentino would be a lovely way of sort of bringing them in. And it's gone from completely unranked to number 743 on the list, which is a lot further up the list than I thought it would be. So I think if you're worried about going for a name that's maybe a bit way out, I wouldn't let that put you off, because it's obviously a name that has been used and doesn't have that complete sort of unranked feel about it. Another sort of Latin, Italian sounding name for you here. How about the name Roman? It has the connections to Italy, being the country of love. I think the name Roman has started to be used far more widely. It's now number 75 on the list, so it's already in the top 100, and means that 871 babies were named this last year. The next name on my list I absolutely love. I think it's the epitome of a romantic but strong boy's name. The name is Byron. If you're someone who loves literature and poetry, then you will know of the romantic poet George Gordon Byron, who is known as mad, bad and dangerous to know. He was the original brooding bad boy of literature. So if you want a romantic but strong name with great literary connections, then I don't think you can go wrong with the name Byron. The name is on a downward trend. It peaked in the year 2000 and then declined, and is now sitting at number 644, which means that 55 babies were named this last year. And I think Byron's one to watch. If you have Australian connections, you have Byron Bay, so that would be a lovely sort of way of bringing the associations in. And I just think it's a really cool boy's name. I can imagine a real hipster boy with long flowy hair having this name. If you use this one, let me know. I'd love to know in the comments. More romantic literary associations for you next. With these two names, you have Coleridge from Samuel Taylor Coleridge, which is completely unranked. And you have Rossetti from the pre-Raphaelite painter Dante Gabriel Rossetti. And again, that's completely unranked, and I think Rossetti has that lovely flowing sound to it, and it will look absolutely gorgeous written down in flowy handwriting. Moving on to a name with Irish heritage and real sort of Celtic cool about it. How about the name Rafferty? I can just imagine a real mischievous, twinkly-eyed, charming boy having this name. Someone who I can imagine would be a bit of a heartbreaker. The name Rafferty is number 278, meaning 187 babies were named this last year. What do you think of the name Rafferty? I love it. Next, another unranked name for you. How about the name Orsino? O names are very popular. You obviously have Oliver and then Oscar and Otto. So how about Orsino? I think it's quite similar in feel to Orlando, but doesn't feel quite as sort of way out or flowery. The next name I thought was going to be far more popular than it is. It's actually quite rare. It's now unranked. It peaked in 2009 with 5 babies being called Dashel, but is now completely unranked, and I think it's such an underrated name. I would go with this name in a heartbeat. I think it has real presence and strength as a name, but still soft and gentle sounding. And it ends in an L, so it's going to be easy to go with a lot of surnames. I often try to work in an alternative to the name Fox in these lists, just because my little boy's middle name is Fox. I know lots of people love it, but can't usually convince their partners to go for it. So if you're looking for an alternative to the name Fox, then how about Foxen? I know it doesn't seem too dissimilar from Fox as a name, but I think just having the EN on the end of it just rounds it off and doesn't make it sound quite as short or stark. So if you're considering the name Fox as a first name and you just don't think it quite works with a surname, then how about Foxon? I love the next name and I think it's so wearable but has great nickname connotations as well. The name is Golding. You obviously have the author William Golding who wrote Lord of the Flies and The Spire, but I also think it would just be perfect for nicknames. You could obviously have Goldie. I imagine a boy with beautiful golden blonde hair, blue eyes, probably not dissimilar to my son. I can really imagine that if I hadn't used Finley, then Golding would have also been a lovely name for him. I also think the name Gulliver has something of the sort of romantic hero about it. It's number 3,996, meaning only 4 babies were named this last year. And I just think Gulliver sounds really cool. Okay, 4 names beginning with H for you next. I have Halloran, which is completely unranked, but I think it sounds really lovely. Again, I can imagine it being written down in long flowy handwriting. It just seems to roll off the tongue very easily. It's quite sort of lyrical. You have Hartley, which again you have the whole love association with heart in there, and that's 1,546, meaning 16 babies were named this last year. I also think Hartley could be great as a middle name. Then you have Hareton, who has associations with the book Wuthering Heights. He was one of the characters in it. Again, it has that whole nature romantic feel to it and the whole literary connections as well. And then you have Horatio, one of my wild card names here, but I just can't get the idea out of my head of Horatio Hornblower, if anyone watched that with Johan Grufford in it back in the day. I think Horatio has real presence as a name, and again that whole sort of swashbuckling romance about it. Another Wuthering Heights association for you here with the name Linton. I think Linton, it's one of these names that again would look beautiful written down in flowy handwriting. It has that sort of sing-song feel to it, but it's very wearable. I don't think it's going to raise any eyebrows. I think it's a very easy to sort of use name that would go with a lot of surnames, very adaptable. This is a name that I absolutely love and would want to probably keep to myself if we were going to have more children, but I love the name Loxias. I love the name Loxley. I think I've spoken about that in a previous video, but this is a variation on it, and again has that whole Maximus Decimus sort of feel about it. Loxias is completely unranked and I think would be a stunning middle name. Next up we've got Lucius, which has gone from being completely unranked to now 1,339, meaning 19 babies were named this last year. And I can see why. It is just lovely, romantic sounding, strong, quite understated as well, I think, and a great alternative to a name like Lucas. But there's a bit of a theme with some of these names, and again I've had Maximus Decimus mentioned a couple of times in this video, but I don't think you can have this name list without having Maximilian. Everyone loves the name Max, but the name Maximilian lends sort of more gravitas to the name. Who also doesn't want million in their name? Next up, a completely unranked name, and one that I absolutely love, and that's Septimus. I think this has a real Victorian sound to it, again a real literary 19th century feel about it. I like the US sort of end to the name. I think that makes it sort of sound quite solid, but still I think Septimus itself written down and the way it sounds makes it seem quite romantic as a name. The name Oliver has been the most popular boy's name in England since I don't know when, but how about the name Tolliver? I think Tolliver makes it sound completely unusual, unheard of, and makes the name unfamiliar again. Tolliver is completely unranked. I think it has that very old-fashioned old man feel to it. I really like it. I think it sounds solid, dependable, but still gentle and romantic. A personal favourite of mine now, and the name is Willoughby. This would make a stunning middle name. When we got married, we had Shutterbox Films do our wedding film. They're just this amazing hipster couple who do just the most beautiful wedding videos, and their little boy, his middle name is Willoughby, and I just think it's absolutely stunning. If anyone read The Wolves of Willoughby Chase as a child, then you would also have those associations with it. Very romantic, but I still think very wearable. And the last name on my list is one that's within the top 200, so it's not unheard of, but I still don't think I would let that stop me from using it. Xavier is at 191 on the list, meaning 284 babies were named this last year, but I still think it's just a stunning name. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, then don't forget to share it with someone else who might like it. Don't forget to hit subscribe for more baby names and cosy content about family food and home. If you love anything to do with Hugo and baking, home and the recipes, then also head over to bexmassey.co.uk for more cosy content, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!